the breaking news this morning. Just a short time ago, Israel's defense minister said that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, cannot be allowed to continue to exist. This after Iran struck a hospital inside Israel. The defense minister said, quote, a dictator like Khamenei, who's heading a state like Iran, who set himself the goal of destroying the state of Israel, he can no longer continue to exist. With us now, the former Assistant Secretary of State for Political Military Affairs, retired Army Brigadier General Mark Kimmitt. General, great to see you. This is the Ayatollah right here. This is the most explicit language we've heard from a senior Israeli official calling really for the ouster, calling for essentially regime change here. What significance do you read into that statement, and how would that change the type of military operation we're seeing?
Well, it's an extraordinarily significant statement. That means that the Israelis are subscribing to the policy of regime change. And how would that change the mission? Well, it would just add on to the mission. That is classic mission creep. And while I appreciate everything that Israel has done up to this point about taking out the nuclear facilities, my question to Israel would be, okay, if there's going to be regime change, are you taking over the day after operations yourself?
Sounds like Israel should have just done the strikes on the nuclear targets in Iran and backed off. And Iran would have retaliated in kind, and we would have been able to help them shoot down the missiles, and then everything would have calmed back down, go back to the table, see if you can get inspectors to go in or whatever it is you're pressing them to do, and not take it to where we are right now. Because now I think we might be at a place where you can't just dial it back. Iran might be willing to. They might really be like, man, we don't really want this. But it appears that Israel does. And it's a lot of rhetoric flying in both directions. But the region is hot. The United States needs a president right now who with a calmer head and a mellow head and someone's going to think through some things and not think that you can be the same negotiator in a war type situation that you are in a economic situation. Totally different stuff. When it comes down to the loss of human life in masses, it's a whole different ballgame, and you can't brag and threaten the rest of the world with our nuclear arsenal or our weaponry in the military or our military strength and think that they're going to, I mean, that's not the end all be all. And it takes a lot more than that to be a world leader than letting everybody know we'll come and beat you up, you know, and that's what it's starting to look like for us. Like all we care about just being the biggest and the baddest, and Israel's loving it. They're right there with us. They're like, oh, yeah. Got a big brother who likes to fight, too. We step in there. Whoa, hit my little brother. We got to get beyond that. It's terrible. But I believe that Trump is realizing that allowing Israel to get involved militarily is going to be regrettable, because now he has kind of thought throwing some wild and erroneous threats out there would make Iran back down. And instead, they seem to be kind of ramping up. And he's like, ay, shit. Now he's got to either put up or shut up. This isn't like the tariffs where you get to say, I'm going to cut this and increase that. And then you don't, or you put a reprieve on it. People ain't dying. And if they are, it's dying of starvation because you're taking all their money. But it ain't like bullets and missiles. And to pump fake too many times when you're in war type situations, it could spiral out of hand real quick. It could go into a nuclear war because of the nuclear capabilities that the United States have. And it appears that everything's on the table. All the Congress and has come back to life. They're excited again. As soon as they found out missiles and things were flying, Lindsey Graham, you can't keep them off TV now. They're on TV giving interviews, excited. We're about to obliterate somebody. We're about to see what all those millions and billions of dollars of military technology will do. in real time on real people. It's pretty sick, man. That's sad that the United States feels that way, because as big and how much more powerful we are militarily than everyone else, that we should use that for peace. There should be no way that we walk ourselves into wars because a negotiating timeline went past 24 hours. 24 hours overdue, no deal. You should have made a deal with me. I mean, they're looking at Trump like, shit. I mean, we negotiate with you and you walk away from the last negotiation, not saying this is it, we ain't messing with y'all no more, but in hopes to get back together again, and we get attacked the next day. I wouldn't want to negotiate with the United States or anybody from the United States if that's how they're going to be. The Democrats are different when it comes to that. The Democrats and the United States of America is lined up, and it needs to change. Backing up Israel, putting our own self in peril, harming our country. Well, what kind of person would Donald Trump be to lead us into a war right now? I mean, not that we're not in one right now, because that when they struck Iran, we struck Iran. It's the same. That's synonymous. Israel and the United States. And that's not me saying that. That's what they say. It's synonymous. When you talk about Israel, you're talking about the United States. So with that in mind, what are we going to do now that we have initiated a war and missiles are flying? And the United States is willing to step further into it by not saying we didn't attack you. We didn't attack you. And now we're willing to step in there and be on the front line. And what is going to happen when we do that? Does anybody have any idea how that's going to work out for us? It's not going to work out well. There are other countries that could be involved in this war, but who are standing back and praying that a reasonable resolution is sought and attained so everybody can kick back and relax. But if we keep heating it up, we just increase the chances of a miscalculation and a nuclear war, or even a really, really bad conventional war. When you start talking about regime change, I mean, that's something that they've always done. When they find somebody they don't like, they just get the other guy more weapons in his hands. Yeah, everybody get it. It's getting old. That's a regime change. You don't get to pick who runs their country, just like they don't get to pick who runs yours. What if the world started assassinating leaders of countries and nations, which everyone they did it. There's only certain nations that do that shit all the time. But what if everybody started doing that? What if that was the way to deal with people on an international level? You don't like their leader. You don't like the deal he gave you at the table. Find a way to poison him. Find a way to shoot him. Find a way. Who wants to do that? Who wants to take their country back to that kind of turmoil? You know how close the margins are in these elections. Who wants to have a leader who was possibly closely elected, barely elected, and then kill him, and then just spiral the country into all kind of turmoil? I heard that's what the United States is about, and I'm hearing that by their actions. I'm hearing that by the way they are responding to Israel. Instead of really making it look like you got a wild, good cop, bad cop kind of a situation. Whoa. Hey, Iran, we need to talk to you. We have no idea he's going to do that. Please give us 24 hours. Don't do nothing. Go over there and play good cop, bad cop more than what you're doing right now. Right now, you're playing little brother, big brother, and little brother's an asshole, and big brother's coming out like, don't even make me have to get up in this, because it's going to get way worse. We don't need that.
Talk to me more about that, because you also say this is something the entire world needs to think about more, the day after management.
Well, I do. It goes back to the Colin Powell comment, the old comment about if you break it, you buy it. We saw that in Iraq. We saw that in Afghanistan. I'm not saying that it should be necessarily completely taken off the table, But there ought to be some considerations and a lot of planning, because it's easy to do the regime change, but putting it back together is much like Humpty Dumpty.
And in the type of conflict this is, and we can see all the strikes that have taken place, and this is, I think, just now a fraction of them, all the strikes that have taken place in Iran. The nature of this operation, Israel's over here. I mean, it's not like there are troops at the border of Iran, Israeli or otherwise, waiting to go in to occupy. So if there were to be regime change, if the regime were to fall here, I'm not even sure I understand what would happen, how there would be an organization to run the country.
It would be chaos. Everybody know it. That's why they have their country running the way they want it to run right now. Because if it wasn't, it would be, in their opinion, chaos. And we have to accept that. Can't go in and do the worst thing possible to a country and expect them to just, the next morning get up and turn the pot of coffee on. That ain't the way it goes. And we need to quit acting naive and acting like we don't understand what happens when these kind of things happen, like regime changes, and why they happen. And we did a regime change in Iran already. And I hear Lindsey Graham saying, yeah, we just need to get this done, get a regime change. We won't have to worry about this anymore. Well, you said that the last time. And all the other places over the world where you have caused people to become refugees and spill out of their countries looking for a place that'll accept them because of the turmoil of the civil wars and the regime changes. That it isn't an innocent phrase. It isn't an innocent word. It's nothing that sounds good or has good connotations to it.
No, I agree. And people seem to think about Iran as a homogeneous nation. Well, that's not true. Persians only make up about 65%, I think, is the number of the population. You have Kurdish areas, you have Armenian areas, you have the areas out by Afghanistan. And we could unintentionally, Israel could unintentionally be putting Iran into a civil war. That's an extreme.
Unintentionally. Oops, we caused a civil war in Iran. Oh, we didn't mean to do that. Please. I mean, that's the kind of talk we need to get away from. Of course, they wouldn't mind a civil war happening in Iran and everything just getting chaotic and going crazy and all over the place. But when you look at Iran as a serious world trading partner with people who are relying on their resources and the trade deals that they have, and we're willing to just go in there and interrupt it, because Israel wouldn't allow the president of the United States to take the lead. If they ended up being attacked, it should have been because President Trump walked away from that table that last time and said, they're not going to come to terms. We're not going to be able to make a deal in no way, shape, or form. And now I'll get with Israel and we'll figure out how we're going to deal with this and do what you're going to do or whatever. But I think the United States needs to be leading this and looking like the strong nation that they say we are when it comes to saying yay or nay. And nobody else get to say anything after that. That's it. And if you want to go it alone, you can. And just like the support we were providing in Ukraine, I was against that. I mean, you put a country in a situation and then when they need your help, we're in the middle of an election and the new president don't feel like the old one did. 4 years ain't a long time. And that's the kind of things that we need to think about. They started launching missiles because they couldn't find another president who they could pump up and allow them to do that. Now they got one who's cool with it, letting it roll because he thought no matter what, our weaponry was going to be more damaging, more severe to the Iranian people than it is. It's devastating. But I'm sure Trump is looking like, what? He probably thought it was going to be way, 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 way worse. And now that he's sobering into the reality that it ain't, then he got to step up and kind of walk back, kind of like, damn. He thought that Iran would already be at the brink of just like not knowing what to do. And he would come across with another little threat and push him to, okay, we give up. We give up, and Apparently, they're not there yet. And he miscalculated that because he's the one who heightened the temperature even more and started saying things like, we have disabled their nuclear sites. We have 100% control of the airspace in Iran. You know, it's kind of, you know, read between the lines and you get what's going on there. But I think Trump made a miscalculation. I think he thought those American weapons are going to be way more dominating and way more dangerous. And I don't think they really, maybe they didn't believe people when they said Iran has missiles. They got it. That's what they got. They got missiles. And you don't want to get into a long war with them because they got missiles. And you probably think, yeah. Then when they start breaching the Iron Dome over there in Israel, then it's like, oh shit, they do got a lot of missiles. They can overwhelm us at particular times. It's terrible to have to find out like that. Without Netanyahu being talked to, I don't care how mad he got. I don't care how mad he got. Somebody need to sit that man down and be like, look, you're in the middle, geographically not in a good place of where you are. And we need to let calmer heads prevail because this may not work out good for you or us if we continue in this fashion. We don't want to turn the world against us. You want to be a leader in the world. You want people to aspire to be like you, not to despise you.
Case, but I don't necessarily believe that the right answer is bringing in expatriate Iranians who have been out of the country for the last 40 plus years as the solution. We saw that in Iraq, and the expats didn't make things better.
You did have some experience with that, to be sure. One of the other things that people talked about for years in the run-up to a conflict like this between Israel and Iran, it could spiral into a regional conflict. But what they meant when they were talking about that was the presence of Hezbollah in Lebanon, all of Syria, you know, the allies.
I just hate when they start talking about that region because there was a war in that region, and it was between Iran and Iraq. And the United States picked a side. Whose side do you think we picked? Iraq. How'd that go? How'd our relationship go? Did that turn into a long relationship? And do you guys remember Saddam Hussein? I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. It's such a sad thing to see us at odds with so many Muslim. The region is different. Their religions are different. And the United States needs to understand that those people are living on some valuable land and they want to get paid for their resources. That's it. You give them good trade deals. Don't threaten them militarily. Don't disrespect them. And I think it could work out well. But you cannot have somebody in the region that heavily armed and heavily backed up who just got a temper that just is at the snap of a moment, they might be launching missiles, and then Iran or whoever else they are launching at is restrained in their response, which is something that is just incredible to me, to see a country taking offensive action and then whatever the country does back is like, okay, now, hey, that's enough. I don't like that part. War is war. It is what it is. And you don't start it unless you're ready to finish it. And if you don't think you can finish it, you shouldn't start it. Even if you do think the United States can come in and finish it for you. What if they flake out? Because I'd be worried about Trump right now. I really believe in his heart. He don't want a war because he really does believe the capabilities of the United States military are devastating. He thought the small attack on Iran would have been more overwhelming and they would have been like, okay, we get it. And it wasn't. Now he's like, I want to pull out the big stuff and really do damage and not be able to walk this stuff back and really have to put that country back together and deal with its trade partners. Who are Iran's trade partners? Who will where would that hole be in the world when they want Iran's oil? Where would they get it from? And the United States have to be responsible for that. Like, damn, yeah. Especially if it's just being erroneous or impatient or miscalculating. There's nothing you can do. You can do better, though, than that. Without a doubt, we can do better than that. And Netanyahu is not the president of the United States. And I hear a lot of people who think that everything that Israel has and everything that Israel gets and the recognition and close friendship with the United States is warranted. I don't know. That's up to you and or whoever believes a particular way, but I just think it needs to be more fair, more even. I mean, I look at the African American Black community in the United States, the descendants of slave as a group that needs its recognition like that, and that kind of support and that kind of protection because of the Holocaust that we endured. And their Holocaust was very terrible as well. And after that, you want to make sure you take those people and protect them. And like every time Netanyahu gets near a microphone, he says, we will not repeat that history. That will not happen to Israel again. And if that's what makes him edgy, and if that's what makes him attack Hamas and Iran and Lebanon and anybody else who he decides he wants to attack, if that's what does it, the United States is going to have to get him in some kind of therapy, get him some help that's going to let him know we really do got your back. And you're not going to be able to make these offensive strikes when we can find more diplomatic ways. We can get China involved if we have to. China is a big trade partner of Iran's. Let China come in and talk to them. We got good trade things going on with China other than that tariff stuff. I mean, they sell a lot of stuff in the U.S. This mic came from China. And we should be okay with it. Like, China, man, we need your help. Iran over there tripping. Really? Well, we can't be messing up our oil because that's what's going to be our problem. Now that we've done that, now that Israel has opened that door, we're going to see during this conflict, as they call it. It's hard to call a conflict that, but that conflict, where we going to go with that in this country? Is it going to drive our oil prices up? Is it going to drive our gasoline prices up? Or did we just allow this to happen and we're going to find out later? Because it ain't good. That's when the United States citizens will realize, man, we really in a war. We really in a war. When the prices start going up, they start seeing those prices sliding upward. They'll be like, this ain't right. They start seeing other things that affect their day-to-day life happening. Then they start going, that wasn't a good idea then. We don't want to look back at this historically when here we are in the midst of it and better decisions can be being made. Donald Trump, we don't know what to do right now. He's not even listening to people who were confirmed by the Senate to head these departments and these panels and advise him his own picks. He ain't listening to him. He ain't listening to him at all. He's listening to Netanyahu. And Netanyahu has probably bragged, you don't know what you got. Man, you could, and he's probably, Trump is probably like, no, don't let nobody pump you up like that. Be the strong, silent one and chill. And tell Israel that they're going to be strong and silent too and shut up. And we're going to make sure that they have everything they need over there to defend themselves. But there will be no more offensive moves until they run it through the United States because the implications of us being involved. It's only right.
Of Iran, even Hamas in Yemen. But now so many of those Iranian proxies are weakened. So when you talk about a possibility of a regional conflict, does that still exist in the same way?
Well, I put it in a different way of looking at this. October 7th and its aftermaths created this once-in-a-generation opportunity for the Israelis to attack into Iran. The great fear before that was if they attacked into Iran, you would have all of these proxies with hundreds of thousands of missiles, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, raining down missiles along with Iran into Israel. That wouldn't work. That was, in fact, a deterrence to Israel from attacking into Iran.
I want to say this because I hear so much about Iran being a rogue state and Iran being a terrorist, supporter of terrorists and those kind of things. And then I turn around and I see their trade in the world. That's a good thing. When you have something to offer and you can make it happen through trade, therefore your country can get money from its valuable resource and helping its economy and the people. I just think of that kind of stuff and like really wonder, how can you call them a terrorist nation, a rogue state, because you don't agree with them and they don't agree with you? Being the most powerful doesn't authorize you to give labels and names and titles to people. In fact, the responsibility on the big and the strong is way more, or should be, than it is on the weak and the meek and the timid. The strong have to make sure everybody's being taken care of. And especially when we're taking things out of this pot without thinking how it's going to be replenished or if it will ever be replenished. We just keep not looking into the future, but living in the moment to the degree that is unsustainable. So unsustainable. What are we going to do when Israel gets aggressive again and or escalates this situation that we're in currently? And we have to go in a little more than at the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency. Like most, in fairness, you don't go in planning on a war. You don't go in with that. He may have. I hope he didn't, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. You just don't go in with those thoughts, I would imagine. You go in with the thoughts that it could happen and how you'd respond or what you could do, depending on different scenarios. But I just can't imagine somebody, because if somebody goes in with that and we got to attack Iran, well, I can't wait to win this election. So we're going to, if you feel that way, yeah, then maybe you should be disqualified from running for some kind of office like president, because you got to go in there and be pragmatic. You got to listen to everybody. You got to understand, hey, you know what? These guys ain't that bad. And I realize what they like and I realize what they're trying to get. Everybody got something they want in this world. Find out what it is. It might be something that we can give them easily. And they might end up being good friends with Israel. But Israel's going to have to do their part too. It takes both of them to the tango. They can't just make these demands and expect these people who are like big on the geographical scale just to listen to them. It can be getting pushed around like that, and a different religion and all kind of conflict in that in itself. It's just best to figure out the common ground and talk and stand on that.
After October 7th, the way that Israel has methodically taken out the missile capabilities of all those countries, then they understood all they had to worry about was Iran's capabilities. They could handle it, and that's why they've attacked.
General Mark Kimmett, always great to have you on. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Joining.
Yeah, the war breaks out, you guys. We got a whole lot of stuff to worry about. But the thing that people just tend to pass quick is the money. Wars cost money. And it's an unintended consequence of war. You got to pay for it. And how we've been paying for our wars. Put it on the deficit. And at the beginning of Trump's second tenure, he's taken over $37 trillion in debt that we owe as a country. We have a war with Iran. Who knows how big it'll get? But we gotta get some more money on that deficit in order to finance it. When in the world, if anybody remembers this day, and we're saying 37 trillion and going up, and we might be looking at 50 or 60 or 70 trillion in debt. You guys don't think that we're in jeopardy of losing our country, or losing the United States as we know it, at least? It's no way we're going to continue to operate with that mentality that we just do things and then figure it out later. You don't do that. You don't run in a store and just throw everything in the basket that you desire on a whim. Impulsive shopping at its best. And then when you get up to the check stand, you go, oh shit. yeah, you got to kind of have an idea about how much you plan on spending when you go in there. And the United States should as well. Economics should definitely play a part in this. You don't want to go and destroy large segments of someone else's country that have to be rebuilt and all of that, because you might go a little further than they are comfortable with, and then their response might not be the acceptable response that we've been all dealing with over this last recent times. It could be going to a whole nother level, and to call them a rogue state, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I saw those cars evacuating Tehran in the groves with the lights on and packed with people and their stuff on top of the cars, and it looked like the 405 freeway. It looked like America. It looked like what we would do if we knew one of our major cities was going to get hit. And start thinking these people have lives like we got lives. Everybody just want to live their lives. And when you have people so far up, like our country leaders, jeopardizing our ability to get out and water our grass or go and look at our kids at night and they still be there the next morning. I mean, we deserve that, and so do they. And that's why these politicians and these world leaders need to take it a little more seriously. That does not sound serious to me when Donald Trump says, hey, you should have signed something. I gave you 60. I mean, that's like, damn, really? That sound like no goddamn negotiation to me. If you're telling them you should have signed, take it or leave it kind of shit, and then you just expect it to go like that. Iran was probably trying to figure out a way to get you to bend on something. You give it to them your way. I get it. You're a strong negotiator. You're a rigid guy. But if you're not willing to bend, then you're not negotiating. And this kind of stuff happens. And in the name of human life, wherever it might be, it would be so much better if you could just say, you know what? In the name of human life, we're going to bend. And we're going to make sure that Iran gets as much of what it wants and Israel gets as much of what it wants. Israel isn't going to get everything it wants, and neither is Iran. But we're going to negotiate this out and start working better with the other countries in the region before they all get mad at the same time, and it's going to be a problem. We could avoid all of that. Like, comment, share, and please subscribe. We'll see you on the next Black Popcorn.